Doing business with family is always interesting. We were able to keep it pretty separate, set up boundaries and goals, and treat it as a real job. Having a mutual third party sometimes to resolve conflict is a wonderful resource.
Hello, everyone. It's Sean from Thrive with another episode of the Power Up, where I meet with successful small business owners and operators to learn about their business strategy so you can take their insights and level up your own business. Once your business is ready to expand, knowing where to start can be overwhelming. Our guests have some creative solutions for how they've tackled tricky problems and turned them into growth opportunities. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everyone. Our guest today is John Burback. He's the owner of Tuned Up Custom Rods in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Tuned Up focuses exclusively on providing the exact ice fishing rod and equipment for their customers' need for a 100% tailor-made experience. From color to handle material, each rod that is purchased is hand-built, customized, designed, and tuned in-house at their store in Coon Rapids using the highest quality products. This market and approach has allowed them to reach 1 million sales just after a few years. You ready to get started with us, John?
Absolutely.
All right. So my first question is just tell us a little bit about how you got into ice fishing rods.
So ice fishing rods, the story starts back when I was in high school. I found a need for making a custom ice rod kind of like non-existent. There was no supply chain. There was no evolution of ice rods were really in the infancy. So I kind of created a need for it, found that my friends really liked it throughout high school, started building them throughout college, kind of continued to grow and grow and grow. And then met my business partner when I got married to my wife, which was my brother-in-law. And then we kind of expanded the business from there. He was the sales driver. I was the one designing and creating all the ice rods. So what we learned is creating a great design comes with a kind of a utopia of demand. That's what we were blessed with customers that really embraced the custom ice rod because it was very, very different than the status quo of ice fishing. And then we had, for the first 5 years, kind of an ice fishing boom. And then, it took off from there.
Very cool. I am not the biggest fisher in the neighborhood, but if you were to explain to me the difference between like a traditional fishing rod and an ice fishing rod, what would be some of like the core differences? I'm curious.
So a traditional fishing rod, I mean, it's, 6 to 8 feet longer rods. Ice fishing rod, you're trying to capture that 6 foot or 7 foot rod and make it into a 3 foot rod or a little shorter. So there are some complications with that, making a rod short, but also high performance and then have the same feel as your open water rod. So say if you have a fast action rod, which means the tip loads up faster than the whole rod and it makes it more sensitive. We built that into a miniature version as an ice rod. Took a couple of years of development, and then the materials are very different as well because you're dealing with extreme temperatures.
Interesting. And so you kind of talked a little bit about it, but am I hearing that this is like you guys created like a new category of rods, like ice fishing rods is how you guys have defined it, weren't necessarily a thing back in the day when you were in high school, and then you started this category of new rods, or you just basically progressed it? Like what happened?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we created a whole new category. We kind of pushed the envelope with the category was already there, but it was all very inexpensive, kind of cheap products. We took it in the next stratosphere, built super high quality products. And then what we were really kind of the forefront is being able to customize it online really easily and then deliver it in 4 weeks. So we worked really hard at building a business model that was kind of repeatable and then expanding on that in other lineups as well.
Got it. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the customization, the e-commerce side, because I know that's something that our audience is always curious about is, how to build like a highly customized online business. But I do want to go back to a point you briefly mentioned. It sounded like you mentioned your business partner is your brother-in-law. Did I catch that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Is there anything, because I know we get some of our listeners will, reach out and ask questions about going into business with family members. Is there anything that you like when you set out on this with your brother-in-law, that you I don't know, put some provisions in place or something like that, and you put some safeguards, and you like, keeping our family safe and protected, and then business is business. Like, how did you guys think about that? I know that's kind of a gray area sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, doing business with family is always interesting. We were able to keep it pretty separate. So the business part of it, what you really, I mean, in my mind, set up boundaries and goals and treat it as a real job. If you are responsible for this, take ownership of this part of it. And the biggest thing is you have to have two people that are drivers versus one that's a driver and one that's a passenger. Make sure both people are drivers and really make sure the relationship is solid. And then, having a mutual third party sometimes to resolve conflict is a wonderful resource.
I bet. Very cool. And that probably can't be your wife, I would guess.
No, absolutely not. Because she's partial to, the one they're living with and the one that she grew up with. So, and I mean, doing business with family can work out very well. It just really, both parties have to put 100% effort into it.
That's great. So let's go into the e-commerce customization business. So, you guys are clearly, obviously doing everything in-house and building the rod. So how did you go about, because it's obviously complex, like how did you go about setting up the online shopping experience for the consumer? Tell us a little about that.
So that's been a long road. We started off with WooCommerce and we've done Ecwid. We did all kinds of different platforms. Shopify is one we kind of landed on. Now, the biggest thing is you have to have like infinite number of options on our website, because so you take a rod and then you pick out the thread colors, which is, about 100 colors. And then you pick out the trim color, which is 100 colors. So the combinations add up to millions of different combinations, and then customized writing, and then, multiple handle choices and stuff like that. So managing that inventory, managing that whole thing has been, it's probably been our hardest task. Building a fishing rod, I feel, is easier than actually running the company part of it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So we've expanded into, having rods in stock and, moving inventory from kind of a warehouse location to the storefront and stuff like that over the years. So we've done some pretty amazing things with the technology that was available. The last couple of years, I feel like the technology's caught up and made it a lot easier.
That's great. Are you guys using any like Shopify apps for like the customization of the rods, anything like that that's you landed on that's just been amazing?
Yeah, we're using Infinite Options.
Options.
Yeah, we basically build a kind of a dummy item, and then we can rinse and repeat the item multiple times. So like our color choices all are standard for the rods. So it's just a lot easier to have that as one option.
Interesting. Okay. I think I see it here. It's like a blue logo. It's a couple toggles, and it's like $13 a month, something kind of like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's for $13 a month. It's basically like having another person. And some of those Shopify apps, we've tried many of them out. Shopinventory is the other driver for the inventory that's really been good. That builds assemblies and bundles and all kinds of kind of more difficult things that we do. Because the rod is the sum of its parts. So trying to manage all the different parts is a pretty big task as well.
Interesting. So this is pretty much the front end. So the Infinite Options is handling that, you allowing the consumer to customize the rod and pick the rod they want. And then once that order is placed, then are you running it through Shopinventory and Thrive for the assembly function to actually like build the thing? Is that kind of the flow, or what's going on?
Shopinventory is kind of the one that it manages all the parts that go into it. So it kind of maintains all the parts. So we use it more as like a master spreadsheet in the background. So we don't use it as instant. We just close it out once a month. Because it would take more time doing it every time for one fishing rod than just doing it once a month. So we kind of know what we're building. So that like we have a bunch of custom items, and then we kind of know what we're building throughout the month.
Sure. Yeah. And how do you think about the financial side of like the custom business with like, are you looking at profitability and sales and sell through of like specific like components of these rods, or do you look at them as like a whole? And like, because I can imagine you're in a warehouse, you have a huge warehouse of tons of products. Like, how do you think about not overstocking not selling products, right? I feel like that'd be difficult.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing. And then also with our industry, sometimes weather dictates what we sell. It
Mm.
sounds weird, but so like this year we didn't have a very long ice season, or most people said we didn't have an ice season. It was about 4 weeks, and normally it was 16 to 18 weeks roughly. So instead of like selling certain panfish rods, we sold more walleye rods to Canada. So
Mm.
our whole business model was thrown off because, we have kind of like a set goal of how many panfish rods we should sell, how many walleye rods we sell. And that was completely gone because you just took out the mainstay of the panfish rods and said, hey, we don't have a season. So people were not purchasing them.
Mm. Wow.
So demand planning is very, it's an ebb and flow. We have dealers that we stock. We have custom, like a guide series rod for certain guides that will wrap them all in the same color. And, we try to get all the information as early in the season as possible. Like most dealer
Mhm.
orders are due 6 months in advance, just so we can kind of pre-plan that.
Okay.
But yeah,
Deal order for a customer.
yeah, we'll order for like a customer, or if they want something like specific, say they want a special rod with their store logo on it, we'll build that as well.
Got it. Are you doing anything with I don't know. I don't know if white labeling is the right term here, but creating custom rods and selling them to like brands and letting brands stick their information on it and resell your products and using you guys as like the back end sort of thing, anything along those lines?
We haven't done a lot of resale like in that space, but I know quite a few companies for photo shoots to be brand neutral. They'll have us build them, say 10 rods, and then put their company logo on them, and then those are just those rods for photo shoots and stuff. So they're not advertising another brand in their marketing campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
but also they're using what they feel is the best choice for their. I mean, sometimes you can tell that there are rods, but most of the time people are like, oh, it's just they just put a Photoshop logo in there, and it's easier actually, and usually cheaper for the company to order rods and have product placement like that, because trying to Photoshop small labels into things, sometimes it looks like,
Yeah,
really censored almost.
I see. That's interesting. How do you guys go about marketing and like finding your customers for these?
So we do a lot of like social media marketing, Facebook marketing. We do some pretty large email campaigns as well. We released a new open water series that really took off for a couple of reasons. I think with the lack of ice in this region, people are really, excited about fishing again, and we're trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's great. Social media, is any specific social media working particularly well for you guys?
So I think Instagram works a little better than Facebook. The algorithms of Facebook lately, we felt that they're not as user friendly for businesses as they used to be. It's just the amount of spam, the amount of kind of crap that you have to sift through is difficult. And we always tell customers that it's the worst way to ever possibly contact a customer is through Facebook Messenger. Like it's very difficult, and people don't always read messages and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Are you using their shopping platform, like the e-commerce tool that they have?
We have tried. We have not had a lot of success with it because it doesn't work with some of our options. So it doesn't always, it's easier to drive people to our website than try to use their shopping platform.
Yeah, I can see that making sense with all the customizations. Okay.
Yeah, because somebody couldn't pick they want red and white thread colors. They just can't pick that on Facebook.
Yeah, it could work well for the standardized ones that you kind of stocked ahead of time, and that's probably it. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Well, that's cool. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. So let's start wrapping up here. I have basically 5 rapid fire questions here that we ask all of our attendees on this call. Pretty straightforward, and we'll start going through them. So number 1, what would you say is your fastest growing sales or marketing channel for your business?
Open water sales.
Open water sales. What is that? I've never heard of that before.
So like regular fishing rods, not ice rods. So our most growth potential is in open water rods.
Okay, gotcha. I see. So that what's your favorite resource? It can be like a blog or a YouTube channel, a book, anything along those lines to grow your skills or your business.
So I do a lot of Joe Rogan podcasting.
Oh, cool.
I really like the business ones that he does, just how people develop and how people have. I always find it interesting. A lot of people have had a big setback, and then their second round is their big round of go.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Number 3, what piece of tech can you not live without in your business?
I would say are having dual cell phones.
Dual cell phones. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So I have a shop phone and then I have a personal line, and I utilize them in different ways to sometimes have a personal connection with the customer or sometimes just a business connection with the customer.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Cool. So number 4,
because people don't really, they buy the brand, they don't buy the product. I feel like that's what they're doing.
Okay. And you use, like, if you, let's say you have like a customer, like an angry customer or something like that, you'll give your personal line.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes just to be like, hey, you know what I mean? And then there's other people that answer the business line. It's just sometimes that personal connection, it really, changes the way people think about it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Number 4, what piece of advice do you have for any business owner ready to start growing?
Manage your cash flow appropriately and prepare for rainstorms.
All right. And number 5, where can our listeners find you? So website, Instagram, Facebook, all the address, all the things. Where can we find you?
Yep. All the tuned up custom rods. We also have a podcast called The Iceman. That's been a big selling platform and just getting brand awareness out.
Okay. And are you on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or like?
Yep. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I mean, we're on most of the bigger channels.
Okay. Iceman Podcast. Cool. All right. Great, John. Really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Power Up by Thrive. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into strategies that you can use to grow your business. If you're ready to take these ideas into the real world, head over to thrivemetrics.com. That's THRIVEMETRICS.com to sign up for a 30-day free trial of our business management software.